the matrix of performativities that the Transborder Immigrant Tool has begun to map out are both these affective mapping, right, which respond to an imaginary effective deployment. So the communities, both contra and for, both are creating speculative realities of deployment as the anchor of definition. And so on both sides there is a storming of multiple realities. Now, the performative matrix is certainly part of that, right? We want to have that code switch in those communities to allow us to move outside the gallery, to move us and into the museum, to allow us to have a dialogue with all of you, but to have an op-ed at the San Diego Union Tribune, to be in discussion in Chicano Mecha boards, nativist boards, and Boing Boing, right? So that the multiple communities again can offer us then the potential imaginaries that then we can begin to navigate. Now, what is interesting in this particular element of imaginary spaces of deployment, right, is the way it functions to measure power institutionally. Because suddenly one begins to see how the imaginary deployment, which is again part of the conceptual practice, right, of how we are imagining, is that it's taken into a question of accounting. That is, who is accounted for, what is being accounted. As I said, we've received literally directly to us in terms of real funds, $4,500. $5,000 was for the cognitive design, which was an undergraduate research for the summer, right? Food, housing, and then he did a poster, said Transborder Immigrant Tool, my cognitive design, and it was given to that. The border award for this tool was the Transborder Intervention Award. That was the call. Transborder Intervention Poetry, that was the call, right? So suddenly you can see kind of the glacial movement of the institution in terms of its call and response. Between 2007 and 2009, when I earned tenure in part based on this project, it was given awards. It was, performed as a legitimate condition of research that was often promoted within the very space, right? Isn't this a useful model of lowercase technology used to deal with a human crisis, right? But suddenly, the disturbance of dislocating those previous imaginaries of work well done, suddenly a question of the nuances of where did these $2 go to eBay to get an iMotorola phone? How much did Amy spend per her time writing a poem? How much of my time during a week do I spend thinking about the project? 10% of my week? 2%? Finally, they concluded that from 2007 to this point in time, I have spent 2% of my time thinking, right? Because I'm paid so much money, right? And so how much of that money, which might be taxpayers' money, is actually going? But again, I'm here with all of you discussing this project, so maybe I'm 2 point, something more than is allowable. But then the question becomes, suddenly congressional Republicans are calling for deeper accounting, right? We want a further accountancy about that $2,000, right? Did they say iMotorola phones, So as we like to say then, what is the nature of the UC system in its wider accounting, not only of course transparency of, funding does UCOP have? What do they use it for? What do the vice chancellors and chancellor do? But we, as under the romance of nation, under the aesthetic fiction of border, what is our accountancy in terms of the season of dying? That bodies are left out there. Who are we just kind of saying, well, these are numbers off our accounts and therefore do not count? And is the real problem, as another theorist at UCSB has said, is that here we have an encounter between bare life and a bare interface that amplify a new condition of power that is seen by the imaginary constitution of the matrix as too much, right? There are limits to what those who live under the frame of bare life should have access to. Imagining that somehow most of the world does not have cell phones. As far as I know, in cell phone activism, just about anywhere in the world you can find it, right? But again, so you have in this performative matrix imaginary conditions of deployment that reshift the conditions of what are the limits of that cartography, that geology of ethics that we're participating in. And it's brought us to this position where we have to now speak to each other. To what degree does the conceptual performance reach its limit in the semantic frame and in the infrastructure? We've done that. The machine works, right? The poetry and the conditions work. Now the syntactical question, who has the code? Who will have the code available? That's what they keep, who is accounting for the code's distribution? And so we have to keep an account of the performance of the code close at hand. So now we're in a dialogue about, is it distributed? Sans location? Is it distributed as location? Do we push forth the performance of civil disobedience once more in terms of higher law? And distribute as originally imagined in the cartography that we had among the immigrant groups, training, establishing the funds to get it done? Or is that very condition of speaking it, not excitable speech, but fearless speech, right, a la Foucault, then to be held onto and pursued? And so I think that is a question that we are under right now.
Yeah, clearly you're getting us getting our presentation at a difficult moment, actually. But